Dot off. Well, there's a lot to talk about in this one, so let's not waste any time at all and strap in for my review of Dot and Bubble, written by Russell T Davies and directed by Dylan Holmes Williams. Dot and Bubble starts off as another Doctor-like story in a row, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I can understand given the filming circumstances with shooting on sex education. Just would have been nice to see these two episodes, 73 Yards and Dot and Bubble, separated from each other so we haven't got two of them right back to back, but oh well. Our first scene pre-titles shows us Lindy Pepperbean waking up to her usual routine. We get that great scene with Ricky September influencing and dancing to Itsy Bitsy Teenie Weenie Yellow Polkadot Bikini. Why did I write all of that in the script? I will never know. It's a great opening that gives us a look into the lives of the people of Finetime, the concept of the bubble and dot, and of course, the giant slug. We then get introduced to Lindy's life and how she lives it, the context to the world of Finetime and how they all rely on these bubble devices. The commentary on social media is clever, but it does kind of hit you over the head. They are in bubbles, but to the extreme. They can block literally anyone out of their life altogether if they don't like them, and can't even walk without specific directions. It's stupid but clever at the same time. It hasn't quite got its finger on the pulse like other social media commentaries like Black Mirror for example, but it's still kind of fun and it still works in a certain sense. Lindy then meets Ruby on her bubble, and unlike her first interaction with the Doctor, she actually listens to Ruby. It's written to almost make you assume that's because Ruby starts paying initial compliments to her, but you can see straight through it when Ruby was able to join her circle with ease, whereas the Doctor came up with a big warning block button. We then see other people being eaten by the man-traps, which is what they're called, apparently. Not on screen from what I can remember, but still. I'm going to skip some filler elements of the plot here, as the important conversation with this episode for me comes with the ending and the context of that that's being laid throughout the episode. There's a lot of general sort of stuff of her walking around, walking into street lamps, dodging giant slugs, that I'm not really going to spend time in this review talking about, but it's all well and good, it's standard Doctor Who stuff. Lindy runs out of battery and then tries to find the tunnel to escape the city. She comes across Ricky September, who for me is one of the most interesting inclusions in this episode. Yes, he's an influencer, but it's an interesting role he plays. He's written almost Doctor-like, comforting, confident. It's the Doctor that Lindy, being bigoted and racist, would actually accept help from. Another indicator of where the ending is headed by how much she immediately trusts him over Ncuti's Doctor. We then find out the homeworld itself has been eradicated by these man-trap creatures, and then we're discovering that they're eating people in alphabetical order. Why? It's not really made clear, or I missed it entirely, but how do the slugs operate? Where do they come from? Yes, it's explained that the Dot has sentience and wants to kill, but it's something I'd like a little bit more from, especially given how easily it was able to destroy the homeworld and Finetime. We then have a great scene with a classic Doctor Who setting, the time-precious door code that needs constant attention, and the killer ball flying through the air. Ricky September plays the action hero, fighting off against the Dot until Lindy tells the Dot about Ricky's real name, at which point it turns around and kills him. I thought this death was brutal. Doctor Who tends to stay away from this thing, so I'm kind of glad they went for a really gruesome death here, even if it was off screen. It made the moment hit a lot harder, just hearing the ball go through his head and him slump to the floor. It's, yeah, very dark for Doctor Who. Then we have the ending. If for some reason you hadn't clocked on to the hints throughout the episode, it's blatantly revealed here when the Doctor offers to save the rest of them that the residents of Finetime are actually racist. Not only privileged, and in Lindy's case murderers, but racist. Hence the comments and actions made towards Ncuti's Doctor throughout the episode. I thought this was a really great way of doing it, and I've seen a lot of people with a lot of different opinions on this, and all of which are completely valid to express. The ending here though did exactly what it was intended to, spark thought and conversation about serious subject matters and how it should and could be represented in TV and film. For me this was incredibly unique and showed us something we don't see very often. We very often see racist characters as evil, and don't get me wrong, Lindy is evil. But less often, and in this case, we got to see racism portrayed as stupid, which is what it is. These people are so blinded by their own bigotry they'd rather face death than be saved and taken somewhere safe. Because it's stupid, it confuses the Doctor, and it should. Other than the wonderful Joe Martin, this is the first time we've had a mainline Doctor played by a person of colour, and it is an opportunity to explore what that's like for the Doctor. This is a character that's lived for thousands of years as a white person, and to see them struggle and not understand why people would think this, even going as far to say that he doesn't care what they say or think, He wanted to save them. This is definitely the same man who offered to save Davros in Journey's End. He has endless compassion for even the worst people in the universe. But here, he couldn't understand why they wouldn't accept his help. And it hurt him, and my god, what a performance. The only time in recent years that I can think of where people have rejected the Doctor and his help is in Midnight, and that took an hour of paranoia, fear, mistrust, and the Doctor's own ego. Whereas here, it's as simple and as stupid as these people rejecting him because of the colour of his skin, and that is as powerful as it is heartbreaking. Well, that's my interpretation of it anyway. I'm sure there are countless more interpretations that people could draw from this, most of which are probably better worded and more insightful than mine. But that's what I love about this scene. It brings out such a brilliant performance and makes such a strong, clear point. This episode wasn't a goofy filler episode about social media. It's about privilege and race and hiding behind the guise of a goofy social media commentary story. I love it for that. It's not an all-time favourite of mine, but because of that ending, this episode stands with one of, if not the most impactful, powerful moment of the series. The problem I have with this episode is that as good as the ending is, it's only the final 5 minutes that this works. With most Doctor-like stories like Blink, or Fear Her, Turn Left, Girl Who Waited, etc., you're either following the companion or a compelling, good side character. Now the choice to make someone detestable the lead of this episode is inspired and unique, but then on rewatch it's hard to enjoy it or even root for the characters at all, knowing what they're actually like and what they'll end up doing. Also, Lindy is intentionally quite a grating character, not listening to the Doctor's advice, barely able to think for herself, and quite an annoying, privileged, rah, I'm on my gap year kind of character. So even if she wasn't racist, she's already a difficult character to sit and watch for 45 minutes, never mind root for. Also, I know that's the exact point the episode is making, and that is great, but by doing that it makes rewatching the episode a chore. I'd rather just sit and watch the last 10 minutes of the episode for that stunning, impactful performance from Ncuti, as that is what completely elevates this episode. Overall though, it's a well-constructed piece of television, and it's bringing important conversations to light. I do think the majority of the episode is difficult to rewatch, despite how good that ending is, so overall I'll give Dot and Bubble a 7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching this review of Dot and Bubble. I know I'm about 3 weeks behind, and I'll be catching up as soon as I can, currently writing the Rogue review and heading over to Legend of Ruby Sunday. We're getting closer to the end of the series, but I will be reviewing every single episode, no matter how delayed they may or may not be. I'm very, very excited. So stay tuned, and we will be reviewing them very shortly. I know I'm behind, but we'll get on them. In the meantime, please feel free to watch my other reviews of this season of Doctor Who. 73 Yards, Devil's Cord, Boom, Space Babies, it's all there on the channel now. And if you're interested, I also have a podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, here on YouTube, and a bunch of other places. It's called Nostalgia Bait. We talk about movies, TV, games, and whatever else. We recently did a couple of Doctor Who episodes, and soon, likely before my final video review here on this channel, we'll be doing a full Doctor Who season review, so keep an eye out for that. Like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more reviews in the near future, as well as my weekly Doctor Who news show every single Tuesday here on this channel. It's called the Who Bulletin, by the way, so join in with that. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll hope to see you all later. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.